All right, you know what? Most of us live in the state of California. But the man that is the head of California's high-speed rail lives in the state of denial. His name is Dan Richard. And apparently he had a little media announcement yesterday to try to assure everybody that we're moving forward with the Browndoggle. This is hard to believe. And I look at this guy. He looks old and doddering already. The glasses and the head's all...
He is a clown. I mean, Dan Richard is just an absolute bureaucratic buffoon. Because
he's trying to hold on, John, to the gold mine. As you said, to keep the salaries coming, to keep the perks coming.
I know, but
even though, we already had a couple of big rulings, including a judge, Michael Kenney, who already said you can't sell the bond money because you don't have a funding plan and you haven't done all the environmental clearances for the first 300 miles. And that's not even the whole rail line. And this guy just goes full speed ahead. These are just bumps. And you know what he actually said, too? By the way, and then the federal government this week, something called the Surface Transportation Department, rejected a request from the high-speed rail people for an expedited and decision to exempt the Fresno-Bakersfield segment from a lengthy environmental review. They got rejected. And this is what he said. Well, we've seen some combination of that action being misunderstood and misreported, including that it's a major blow to our project. And frankly, there's no basis or credence to that.
That was the CEO, Jeff Morales, who said that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That was
another bonehead. But so what?
He said, by no means is this a setback.
So what's been misreported or misunderstood?
Well, that's just it. They only gave generic answers when reporters were asking him, well, what about the funding plan? He didn't really have anything to say about that.
He's got no money. Richard and Moreland have no money. And the judge says, until you show where the money is, you can't borrow any more money. And until you get an environmental review for the 300 miles, you can't build anything. You can't do this. And then this federal board said you need to get an environmental review as well. So what are they doing? Are they going to have some stupid photo op with a shovel and they're actually going to find some dirt, some empty land that they've already purchased and stick a shovel and turn it over and say, hey, the project started. Look at that. And remember, they claim they've got the federal money. The federal money is supposedly contingent on state matching funds. Now I want to see how that sorts itself out.
Well, this AP story by a reporter named Juliet Williams says, in the meantime, rail officials are spending up to $3.3 billion in federal money to start engineering work and buy property. However, the federal money is contingent upon eventual, that may be a key word, eventual state matching funds. So that's like an IOU. We will match it, but not now. Give us the $3 billion.
I don't know if they have the $3 billion in their account
because
or not.
It says here, Richard thinks the federal money will last through late spring. And then, quote, here's another generic statement, there are a lot of other ways to deal with this if the money runs out.
And what would that be?
Such as?
Did the reporter say, well, what is that?
I don't know.
They just say stuff. There is no other way. They're out of sources for money.
Yeah, this thing's over.
But what? I mean, it's their own self-enrichment that motivates them to say these stupid things. They both want to collect a paycheck. But they're completely out of their minds.
This judge took a look at the actual ballot proposition, which was 1A, passed in 2008, and said, you know what? It says in here you have to have all the money lined up, the investment sources, the funding sources, and the environmental approvals done for the first 300 miles, and you're nowhere near that.
And there's a whole list of other credible issues that the judge hasn't even heard yet, starting with...
Oh, how long it takes?
This has to be 2 hours and 40 minutes, and under the current plan, by design, it's going to take about 4 hours because they're going to do slow speed in and out of L.A. and San Francisco. That's in the plan to do slow speed. That doesn't match the 2 hour and 40-minute promise of the proposition. Wait till the judge gets that. If he's reading this proposition to the letter, and so far he is, then they fail on that regard, too.
The reporter did write correctly. It's hard to see how the rail authority could strictly meet all these requirements because officials have identified only enough federal and state money for the first 130 miles, and they only have environmental approvals for just 28 miles of track. That's it. Now, it's been 5 years, and it's actually been longer than that. They've been working on this.
Right.
And that's all they got.
And every day
How many more? They're not supposed to start until they get that all worked out.
And every day they wake up, it's the same story. It never gets any better. If anything, there's more doors being closed to the money, such as now they can't even borrow the $8 billion left in the state bond proposition. So every day they wake up, they're still effectively broke.
So they're refiling, and they're going to ask this judge again to let them go ahead and tap into the bond money.
Right.
It's called the validation action. And this is what Richard told reporters. The judge said you guys didn't put enough information on the record, so the easiest thing in the world to do is go back and put more information on the record. What does that mean, more information on the record?
Well, the information is
the funding sources.
Where's your funding?
Right. And where's your environmental approvals?
So, nobody woke up anytime in the past week and wrote them a $50 billion check.
Not that we know of. No, they even went to China at one point. Didn't Schwarzenegger and Brown go over there trying to get some?
That's right. 1 billion Chinese said.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to a man who's president of the Winnetka Neighborhood.